सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया पूरा हुआ मेरा सपना प्यार है सपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया तू ही है अब ख्वाबों में मेरे तू ही है अब ख्वाबों में मेरे चाहूं तुझको साँझ सवेरे छोड़ ना देना मुझको सनम छोड़ ना देना मुझको सनम साथ निभाना अपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया जीवन भर ये प्यार हमारा जीवन भर ये प्यार हमारा बन के रहेगा अपना सहारा टूट न पाए अब ये कसम टूट न पाए अब ये कसम प्यार न बदले अपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया तेरा प्यार है दुनिया में तेरा प्यार है दुनिया में तू ना मिला तो मर जाऊंगी साथ रहे हम जन्म जन्म साथ रहे हम जन्म जन्म साथ ना छूटे अपना सजना ओ सजना मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया 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 मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया
Well, a very good evening and welcome to the Ken Rampersaud Show on Island Zone Radio. You know, for some time I was not on the radio, but today is the first day back. And I'm so happy that I have no other than the young man, Mr. Rohan Narayan. Rohan, I want to welcome you to the studio today. I know your wife was here before. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I am not doing bad. I think in the spirit of my place of birth, I may go in and out of my English accent
That's fine.
just to make it fun
Yes.
and explain things about the book and congratulate you. So, first of all, Ken, great job. I love your background
Thank you.
and I love your studio. It's lovely. And I really thought that it was much smaller than it is. It's
Oh, really?
large.
Yeah, it's big.
It's quite big.
Right, right.
And I'd like to say thank you for having me on the show. It's a real pleasure, and I can't wait to have a good Q&A with you and talk, and maybe even ask you some questions about what you're up to as the interview goes on.
All right, we have a lot of time, but before we start and we get into things about you, I want to say, Rohan, congratulations that you are now a young father of the twin.
Ah,
To you and Aminta, I can't imagine you get this thing double dose. And I know that you're happy. We'll talk all about that. Also, Rohan has a master's degree, MPA, which I'm so proud. You're a young guy, and I always admire young people when they go for education. Because you and I know that education is one of the key to open the world's door. And also, I'm so happy that you are a young author, and I could put it up there so that people could see. Um, Decade of discovery from garage gambler to mayoral liaison. And congratulations. You know, like when I was reading a book, and I want to say thanks to Miss Aminta for sending me that book. And it was I don't like to read, but it was a good read. And I'm so
mm,
glad and so proud of you that you decided to pen these stories, not only because you want to share it like that. I will ask you later on, why you do it, but it's a good thing to do for our community. Um, 2024 is a fantastic year for you. You get a lot going. Um, Also, I want to tell you that I have been blessed to have your dad, and it's not about your dad, but I really do love to give kudos to people who really who have accept me in this
mm,
community
yeah,
and
definitely.
who have helped me
Mm,
throughout my journey. And
mm,
one of the people who have done so is your dad, Dr. Don Paul Narayan. When I started, despite he is a big guy in our community, he gave me that respect. And anywhere I
mm.
go, he gave me that respect. So, um, Dr. Dan Paul, I hope you're listening. If not now, that you will listen sometime tomorrow when you relax, probably with a nice
Cup of
glass of
tea, a
red
nice cup of
wine. Tea, right?
a cup of
English
tea.
tea.
He's who knows, some crackers and cheese and tea.
Yes, and he had wrote a nice article on me, which you have said that you
Mm-hmm.
read. Also, Rohan, I gotta tell you, your beautiful wife, Miss Aminta Kelwan, you are very lucky to have her. I know
I'm the luckiest man
you're
on
the
earth.
luckiest man on earth to have received to be I want to use blessed
Mm,
to have been blessed to get a woman like her.
mm,
She is a powerhouse. She's a
mm-hmm.
powerful woman in our community, and she is also an attorney with the
Yes.
city. So
Yeah.
kudos to you and to her. And I want to tell you that both of you are such is a great couple, is a
Mm.
power couple
Oh,
in
thank
our
you.
community.
Thank you.
So I want to say that. So Aminta, I love you and thank you for all the things that you are doing in our community.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
continue.
and I love you too, honey.
She's
Yeah,
oh
Ken shouldn't be the only guy that loves you on the show.
no, but it's good to have her. She's doing such a fantastic job, and I can't wait to see when your children grow up
Mm.
what they are going to do because
Mm-hmm.
they will have so much influence and so much great things. Their parents will be so great role models. So I don't know
Grandparents
what they're
too.
gonna
Yeah.
grandparents
Yeah.
too. Talking about that, Aminta, her dad
Mm.
always respects me too,
Mm.
and I love this family. I don't know the mother that much, but her father always write nice things about me.
Yes.
Also, Aminta Chacha that lives one street from here.
Mm.
He's a good guy too. We get along very good, and he does humanitarian work in
Mm.
Berbice. I don't know if you know about
Serum?
that.
Serum?
Sira?
Uncle Serum? Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yes,
right.
yes, yes.
So he's another good guy.
Mm-hmm.
So and he does a lot of work in Ghana in
Mm.
Berbice area for the elderly and the
Mm.
poor, the underserved. So great family, and I'm so glad and honored to do this show here today with you. Um, like I said, your dad is a great educator, so I didn't expect anything worse from you.
I
you know, You
with as much as he's authored, I
right.
needed to at least author something,
Come on, and you
right?
yes. I'm glad that you are standing up to that. You
Trying
know what
my
I'm saying?
best, trying my
He
best.
also teaches GED,
Hmm.
and he also he with this the book fair. He
He does the
is
book
the book
fairs,
fair.
been very successful.
That's right. So he is actually he's one of the cornerstone of our
Mm,
community, and that's the most you will hear me talk now. So let's
mm,
go put the fire on you. So tell me something. Talk to me about your childhood.
mm.
Where you were born, and we got a lot of time to talk.
We do. We
So
can really unpack this and take our
yes,
time.
let's
Sure,
talk
sure,
about you born where, then you came to the United States. Let's go.
sure. So, 1984. I'd say maybe a few years before this. I may get the year wrong. I think it was 1978.
Right,
My dad got a scholarship to study in London,
right.
and both my mom and my dad. This is a interreligious family. So my
Hmm.
mom is Muslim
Right,
and my dad is Hindu.
right,
And as we know, 2024 is a little different, but in the late 70s and 80s, this thing is taboo.
right.
And
He married Muslim girl? How come? That was the thing.
so the story goes, and I hope I'm telling the story right. My dad saw my mom in Georgetown and chased her all over
Oh, really?
the town
Wow.
until she finally accepted him on a date.
Oh,
And that's how they met. They were both teachers.
oh, wow.
They
Good.
were both teachers at a very young age. I think my mom was teaching at 16 and my dad was
Wow.
also teaching at that time.
Hmm.
And that's how they met. And they decided to elope. My dad applied to, and he had dreams of becoming a lawyer.
Oh,
But
really?
I think the way he explains it was that everything at that time was very political. If you didn't know someone,
Right.
if you didn't have a big bank account, then your son wasn't going to go to that school,
Hmm.
that school. So he didn't come from wealth, and so him and his batchmate both went to university, but his batchmate went to law school,
Oh, wow.
and he did not. And so he felt that the next best stop was the London School of Economics, and so that's
Wow.
why he pursued his PhD in London. My mom and dad eloped there. Um, I was born in '84, so my brother was '82 in London. I was born in '84. My dad's visa expired a few years after, and so it was important for my mom to let them know, hey, I have family in Brooklyn, in New York. And
Right.
so my mom and dad moved over to Brooklyn
Oh, really?
in like 88, 89.
So she was sponsored or just
She
come
was,
over?
so my aunt sponsored both of them.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and they, as you know, the currency, the pound is more expensive,
Right, right,
is higher than the dollar. So
right.
when they bought a flat, sold it for a big profit,
Wow.
and they had enough money for a down payment on a home
Oh, wow.
when they moved over here. So they were
Beautiful.
looking, they rented for a few years, and then they found this beautiful home where they now live in South Ozone Park on 116th Street and 109th Avenue. Um, I was younger, although it may not look like this. I had a lot more hair,
You
so
funny.
I had a big bush on my head. I had a
Right,
big
right.
bush.
Yes.
Very cute kid.
Well, you're still cute now anyway.
Maybe I'll leave that to my wife. I hope she agrees with your assessment. Um, and I heard I had an accent. So I came off the plane and I was talking British. I had a nice English accent,
Right.
and all the teachers when I was a kid, they said, "Oh, is he from London?" And then my mom's like, "Yeah, he's from London. Like, how are you?" I was like, "I'm all right. How are you, teacher?"
Oh,
Until
wow.
like a few years it left.
Right, right.
Um, Went to private school. My parents were big on private school, so I went to Catholic
Mm.
school, Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and then I later went to Archbishop Malloy High
I
School,
heard about those school, yeah.
where my wife went too. But we
Hmm.
were 4 years apart.
Oh,
So when I graduated, she was a freshman. So we
oh,
never
okay.
were in school at the same
Oh,
time.
okay.
I majored in accounting at Queens College.
Right.
Um, Started at one of the big four accounting firms when I graduated. So I started at Ernst and Young,
Wow.
which is one of the big four accounting firms.
Hmm.
I did not like it at all. It
Hmm.
was not for me. Although I could have done the work, I didn't enjoy it. A lot of people left, and so I left as well. The recession happened a year after, so I worked at another firm for about a year, and then I
Mhm.
was laid off. So that's when the book has its beginning. So the book starts when I am not working.
Mm.
I have a pretty good education, but
Right.
I didn't want to use my resume to get me back into accounting. I felt that was not going to be for me. So I was like in between what I wanted to do, like what my dream was versus what I had in my past. I
Mhm.
was going on interviews, but they were for like accounting positions, like junior accountant or associate accountant.
Mhm.
And they said, "Do you want this job? We'll offer you the position." I said, "I don't really want this job. I don't like
Oh
this job."
gosh.
And I went back home. My parents said, "You got the job?" I said, I didn't really want this job." My parents were like, "Just take the job.
Right. Right. Right.
Like you're in a lot of debt. Like you have a
Yeah.
Mercedes. You can't pay for your car. You're
Right. That old car, right?
yeah." It was like I was paying $430 a month for a Mercedes Benz, and I moved out of my apartment. I was living with a partner at the time, and I moved back in with my parents. So I was like very just my mind wasn't there
Right. Right.
for what I was doing.
Mhm.
And that's when the book starts. So I made some poor friends, poor choice of friends.
Right.
They said, Rohan, are you stressed out? And I said, yeah, man, I'm really stressed. And they said, well, you know, there's this thing called marijuana.
Mm.
And have you tried it? I said, no, I never tried this thing. And they
How old
said,
were you then?
so I was 24.
Oh, you're a big guy
I
then.
was 24. I never drank. I never smoked, never really drank. I was
Wow.
like very clean guy.
Right.
And then this, some of the friends in the community were like, "Hey, why don't you try this thing? Take the pain away." And so I said, "All right." I tried it, and that's when, like, I had this downhill for a good few years
Right. Right.
of I would say that was very clearly addiction, and it was to get back on my feet took, I'd say maybe from like totally quitting, maybe took 10 years.
Oh wow.
So that's why the title of the book is Decade of Discovery. So
Right.
it was a good 10 years of mistake after mistake after mistake while thinking that I wasn't an addict and lying to myself, and putting a persona out there in the community and in the mandir or with, my in-laws or my parents that I was someone that behind closed doors I was not.
Oh wow.
And so that's what the book really goes into a bit of detail about.
So let me ask you, when you came over here, or in England, were you like going to church or temple?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was probably like next in line for to be a pundit.
Pandit by, yes.
So I went to Sri Trimurti Bhawan, my guru, who's also my uncle, my chacha,
Right, right, right,
Dharmacharya Pandit
right.
Chunalan Narayan.
Yeah.
He's so you can, like, between my dad and my guru, these are two powerhouse people,
Of course.
right? They're two brothers. They have done amazing public service work, which while holding jobs, I mean, this is not easy things to do,
Right.
and a family, to the best of their ability and succeeding, in my opinion, right?
Mhm.
And so when I was a kid, my guru said, Rohan, it would be great if you were to become a pandit. So from a young age, I'd
Wow.
say about like 8 or 10, I was going to the mandir and
Mhm.
studying the scriptures, the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita. I was in a few plays. I was in Ram Banwas, um, the story of Ram, and I played Lakshman in
Mm.
that as well. So I had like this direct interaction with the books and with the religion that it still to this day has a very big influence on me.
So you actually grew up, and I want to paint a nice picture too. A picture of, here it is, a brilliant young man who grew up in the church, the temple, right? Great parents, and he ended up smoking marijuana
Every day,
every
almost
day,
every day.
right? And so that's why sometimes, and we're talking, we're chatting. That's why I see on Facebook sometimes people say that, what, here it is, parents, you blame parents.
Mm,
But I tell people, and I always say this, you don't blame parents for everything that the children do.
I agree.
Sometimes children, they just move away like what you did.
Mm,
The great thing is about with addiction and with marijuana, It's not that bad, but I want to say it's a gateway for different things
Agree.
like crack cocaine,
Agree.
heroin, and different things. So glad
Yeah.
you did not do touch any of these things, right?
Nope. Nothing entered my vein. You know.
So that's a
So
great thing,
yeah.
right? So, and I want to feel that it was. Um, how did your parents really? And we are going off script now because I'm
Sure.
going with your
Sure.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, your parents learned that. How did they find out that you was smoking marijuana?
Yeah. I think so. The opening chapter of the book is when I am down in the dumps.
Right.
So I am waking up from being passing out. I
Mm-hmm.
pass out. I smoke some really strong marijuana. I vomit in my garage. I
Oh
end up
wow.
I'm running a gambling ring in my garage
Right. Right.
just to get by, and I end up like vomiting in there. I
Mm-hmm.
wake up, and my parents probably had some idea, but the moment they caught me a few times.
They did
Yeah, they caught me a few
because one of the
times.
things is marijuana smells high. Got a high
Yeah, they
scent.
would come into the garage and see all these people playing poker, and there were beer bottles on the poker table, but it was
Mhm.
also a strong smell
Right.
of marijuana. They would say, "Rohan, you smoking that thing?"
No
And I
man,
would say, "No, I'm not
not
smoking
me.
that. You
Right.
sure?" But one of my good friends, he now moves to Florida. His name is Ivan. He actually just confronted me, and he said, "Rohan, you lost 20 pounds.
Right.
You are so thin. Like you are extremely skinny. I could see your jawbone.
Mm.
I could see your jawline and your cheekbone. Like I never saw that before. Are you on drugs?"
Oh wow.
He just asked me. He said, "Are you on drugs?" And I said, I got to get over this thing.
Mm.
And he's like, "Are you depressed?
Mm.
Like you can tell me. I'm your friend. I'm not your parents." And I said,
Oh wow.
I had to really like almost come out and say these things I never wanted to admit.
Mhm.
But I probably was depressed. And my depression led me to my addiction. And then my addiction led me to deny my addiction.
My question to you is,
Sure.
what did you think would cause you to become depressed? Did you had and I am just throwing out things out there.
Sure. Yeah.
As a young boy, were you getting bullied at school? Were your home life? I mean, despite your parents were that religious and educated, despite that, sometimes a lot of things could happen in the family, in the home
Mm,
that people don't know about.
mm,
So, if you were saying you're depressed, in your opinion now as an
mm.
adult, what did you think caused you to become depressed?
I think that's a good question. I think I was very dishonest with myself,
Mm,
and I thought that my job was to just find a good girl
mm,
and not to become a good man first.
mhm.
I think, and now that I'm married, I realize that in order to be a good husband, you yourself have to be a good person.
Yes,
You can't.
absolutely.
And what led to my depression was being nice in the public, but coming back home and hitting up my friend for a bag of weed.
Mm. Oh wow.
Yeah, and that was when I think I knew that I was living two lives,
Right.
and that double life was depressing. Where I said, "Okay, yeah, Sitaram, namaste," and I would go up
And smoke.
and have seven curry and mandir,
Oh wow.
and go to yajna and go to puja and be with my dad and tape, or like go to jyoti satsang, and then like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hit up my friend and go smoke. And my parents were like, "Where are you going so late at night? It's not bedtime." I said, "Oh, I'm just going to hang out with a friend," or like, "Oh man, this movie just came out." No, I'm not gonna see no movie.
Right, right.
And then we would get high and then get hungry and then come back home after a few hours. And that's when I realized, like, I said, shucks, I got this addiction, man. I can't stop
Mm.
hanging out late and coming back like late at night. And that was really messing up everything because I couldn't wake up on time to go work. I didn't want to leave my neighborhood. I was so selfish to stay in my own neighborhood to find work. That's when I went into real estate for a
Right.
little bit. And then even when I was in real estate or was doing my master's degree, I was struggling
Hmm.
with trying to be that good person I know that I am versus going back into the muck, like going
Wow.
back into the trench.
I was, as a parent now, you're a parent too.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
And how did your dad took this that, oh my God, listen, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I'm be religious. How my son
Mm-hmm.
starts smoking marijuana?
Mm-hmm. I
Well, how he dealt with it?
I think to be completely candid, he put the ball in my court.
Hmm.
He said, "You're an adult.
Oh,
Right?
really?
You know right from wrong.
Hmm.
You know that you've lost weight. You have a dependency on this thing. We can smell it on you.
Oh, wow.
So your
That's
car."
deep.
Yeah, he's like, "We don't go into your car." But one time, my mom went into my car to get my insurance because I had a new insurance, and she's like, "This thing reeked of
Oh,
marijuana."
wow.
So there was clear signs, but he pretty much put the ball in my court. He said, "This is on you. I can only tell you,
Oh, wow.
but I'm not
That's
out there
deep
with
too.
you. I'm not out there in the car with you making the transaction." He said, "Look, one day you're probably going to get pulled over by the police and they're going to smell your car and they're
Yeah.
going to tell you, please step out of the vehicle. So we have probable cause to search your vehicle," which all happened.
Right.
All those
Wow.
things happened. I said,
Mm.
well, it was one time, it was really bad, dead of winter. And police followed my car because they saw that I pulled over to a deli and I pulled into someone's house, and then they pulled me over, and it reeked of marijuana. And it was one night. It was not good. I was in the detention center for one night.
Oh, wow. Since we are talking about marijuana
Yeah,
and you have kicked this, we know that
yeah,
you don't smoke marijuana no more, and so we could close that chapter off.
sure.
Do you ever get the craving of
Mm.
smoking marijuana now?
That's a really good question. I When former Governor Andrew Cuomo made marijuana legal
Right.
in New York State, that was when I knew that we have crossed a bridge we can never go back from,
Hmm.
where you had every corner store was selling weed.
Right.
Um, they didn't roll this out well, no pun intended, right? The governor didn't roll this out properly. There were pot shops less than a mile away from
Hmm.
schools. They were selling vapes, and then it
Right.
started to be nicotine vapes. And all of a sudden, they started shipping in marijuana vapes
Right.
and
Wow.
selling these vapes across the street from schools,
Oh, wow.
right? And so and they were very poorly regulated, and they didn't these the sheriff's office from the New York State didn't know which shop was selling what, right? So they just started closing down shops in mass. But before that, I told my wife, I said, "Honey, you're trying to tell me what I got arrested for one night
Become legal.
become legal? I could
Mm.
walk on the street and smoke this thing?" And it was really scary, and that actually led me to want to quit because I realized like all hell broke loose, like Pandora's box is open.
Open, yeah.
There's no going back. And when you talked about the craving, I rode here on my scooter, and
Right.
on the way here,
Smelling.
I'm passing through Jamaica, Queens,
Yes.
to get to Queens Village, and I'm
Yes.
smelling high marijuana, But I put it to you this way: weed stays in your system for 90 days.
Mm.
If I ever had a job interview,
Right.
right? If I had my dream job I interviewed for, and my future boss said, "Rohan, welcome to the team. We'd love to have you. Here's this cup.
P.
Just go pee in this cup real quick and leave it with us. And we'll see you on Monday. Congratulations."
Oh, wow.
Imagine that. And I would have to take this cup, and what am I going to do? I gotta find someone. I gotta lie. It's like, "Oh, I'm sick right now," or I'm like, "Oh, can I give you the cup in 2 weeks?" And
Right.
they would say, "Why? Why you gotta give us the cup back? Is everything okay? Are you on a substance?" Right? And
Mm.
so like those things really stuck with me. I said, once you quit
Right.
and you smoke one time, your whole body is filled with marijuana, so you won't pass a drug test
Mm-hmm.
for another 3 months, if
Oh,
not
wow.
more than 3
Mm-hmm.
months. So that keeps me sober. Where
Good.
and on top of that, I'm blessed that my parents raised me sober. My parents weren't drinking. My
Yes.
parents weren't high. when they were raising me as a child. So now that I have two kids, I have two newborns,
Right.
they would hate my guts if years down the road they'd be like, "Mom, was Dad high
Right.
when he was changing my diaper?
Oh wow, that's some
Right?
deep things.
Was he inebriated or was he not sober when he was taking care of me?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Was he giving me the best attention that
Oh
I
wow.
needed?"
Yes.
And those things really, I said, if I was the son of two parents who put everything into their children, I need to put everything into my children.
Amen. Yeah.
And that keeps me drug free.
Good. Good. Now, I want to talk about this earlier, but how have you managed to rub shoulders with your wife now? How you meet her?
How we
What's
meet?
the story?
All right, let's get into this one. This is a darn good story. You're going to like this one. Um, how we met. So Aminta is a brainiac. She's very smart,
Hmm.
and I saw her in Mandir, and I wasn't immediately attracted to her, but she spoke really clearly, and she was a nerd. So that instantly drew me. I said, you know, she's really smart, but I don't really like her. But I don't know because we were 4 years apart.
Hmm.
Um, her parents, where where I mentioned that my guru, my uncle Pandit Chunal, Dharmacharya Pandit Chunal Narayan, is the head pandit of a mandir. So that's my station. You know, I can't go from station to station, right?
Right. Right.
I'm relegated to this mandir. That's my home base.
Right.
Aminta went to different mandirs because her parents would take her around to different mandirs.
Oh, her parents.
Yeah, they
Right.
went to Bhuvaneshwar, they went to Srimurti Bhawan, they went to America Sevashram Sangh, you know, they went
Hmm.
to all these other, Milan Mandir. And she's a bhajan singer. So she would always play whenever they would have the kirtan or the bhajan, she would sing there.
Hmm.
Um, one Sunday, I didn't see her for a good while, maybe for like a year,
Really.
because she was going from Mandir to Mandir, and not, I wasn't going every Sunday. So there were maybe Sunday she went to Mandir, I didn't go, right?
Right. Right.
And there was one Sunday I saw her, and man, she grew up.
Mm.
Like she was all beautiful, you
Right.
know. She wore
Right.
this black. I'll never forget. She wore this black sari with studs, and it was
Mm.
shining,
Mm.
and she was singing, and she had her braces removed, and she was gorgeous.
Hmm.
And I said, "Wow, who is that?"
Mm.
I said, and then I looked. I said, "That's Aminta." I said, "No way." And I was staring at her, and her dad was staring at me.
Oh Lord, I like that.
You know, so I saw her dad. I said, "Oh shucks!" Like he probably saw me looking at her daughter, his
Yes,
daughter. I said, "I gotta not stare at her."
right.
But before she left, I didn't want to say anything too cheeky, but I said, "Are you taking singing lessons? Because you sing so well."
Oh, you're smart
You
too.
know, it's like a little compliment, but
Right.
nothing to
Hmm.
know I'm flirting.
Right.
And she gave the best answer. She said, "Singing lessons. I'm not taking singing lessons." I said, "Wow, you're not taking singing lessons? You sing so well. You should
Right.
really take lessons."
Right.
And it was that's when I like my eye caught her eye. I said, "Man, I want to see her next week."
That's the
And
moment.
that was it. And I think she was probably 16 or 17.
Oh wow.
And I
Yeah.
was a bit older. I was probably like 19 or 20,
All
you
right.
know? And I was like, wow, that was a different girl. And I knew she was nerdy already, but then she added this beautiful voice, and
Right.
then
Right.
her look changed, and she had the curly hair and those almond shaped eyes and the beautiful
Oh
skin,
wow.
you
What a
know?
description. But go
Yeah.
ahead. I
You know,
like that. Yeah.
and her attire, her fashion sense, and all these
Right.
things. And I
Right.
heard
Right.
she was going to Malloy. I said, wow, I went to Malloy, and all these things. I was like, man, I should I should talk to her one day, you know? Um, but that was the beginning. That was the beginning of when we first met. So that's an important call. Maybe you should
No, no, that's okay.
follow up.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's good though. I'm so glad that you guys meet up and at the end look at this beautiful story.
Yeah.
Um I read in the book you spoke so highly of your guru, who you said is your father brother. So, who, for those who don't know who's Chacha.
Mm.
So how has he really influenced you?
I would say he is the stern principal. You know, the headmaster that was really stern with me.
Oh really?
When my parents probably may have found it hard to have been completely candid with me
Yes.
and to say what needed to be said. He would just tell me the plain truth.
Mm-hmm.
He would. We went on a very long drive to North Carolina.
Right. I read that.
It was an 8-hour drive, and
Mhm.
he would say, "Look, you got to get a job."
Oh, he told you.
He's like, "Are you working? Where you work? That's it. You need to get another job. You need a higher paying job. So how much money you make? How much you bring home every 2 weeks?
Oh, wow.
You straight questions, very candid." I said, "Oh,
Hmm.
like, things my parents would never ask me, right?"
He's a sharpshooter.
And I think he he is so knowledgeable about the scriptures that you can't listen to him for 2 hours and think how much he really knows. Uh, he knows all of the Bhagavad Gita. He knows all of
Oh,
the
wow.
Ramayana. He knows most of the Upanishads and the Vedas. By memory. Um, he's also a very prolific motivational speaker.
Oh, really?
He can. When I traveled with him to South Africa,
Right.
he was in studios just like this, and he would bring his harmonium and he would give a lecture. And after that lecture, he said, all of these people in the radio station said, "Gosh, when are you coming back?
Wow.
We want you back. Like you uplifted all of us.
Hmm.
You motivated all of us to be the best we can be." And so when he does the climax evening at Remind in the Park, so he does the Saturday night, and somehow every year his message is better and better. You may think he's reading from the same chapter of the Remind, but he's not. He takes that and he adds to it a way to motivate his fellow brothers and sisters to be the best they can possibly be.
Nice.
And he also pushes me to. He's a
Nice.
big fan of getting me to speak extemporaneously. He would find me in the audience, and he'd be like, "And so before I start my pravachan, I'd like my nephew, my shishya, Ro," and I'd be like, "Oh no, no, he's calling me." He's like, "And Rohan, come quick, come quick, say a few words, quick, quick, quick. You have 1 minute. Here, stand right here." And I'd be like,
Oh,
"Oh,"
wow.
and he'd be like, "So, and since we don't want you to speak off the cuff, tell everyone here how much of an influence the Bhagavad Gita has on your life. Go ahead, 60 seconds, starting now. Go."
Oh, wow.
And he was pick me, and it was one time, very quick. We did my mother-in-law, Shirani Kilawan, beautiful woman inside and out.
Oh,
A
wow.
living saint, a
Oh,
living saint. She's really. You can see why all three of her children turned out the way they did, and my father-in-law too. They really put all their time and money and
no,
effort
good
into their
people.
kids.
Good
Very good
people.
people.
Yeah.
Very good people. Very honest. Very decent people. She had I think it was her 50th birthday at Trimurti, and there was a vegan cake, and my guru forgot to mention the cake and the cake cutting, and he did the arti already, and he did the final prayers, and he said, "Oh shucks," and he's like, "Ro, come quick! I forgot to mention the cake. Stand right here. Tell everyone they can't go upstairs,
Oh,
and
wow.
you have to bring all of them down and tell them to cut the cake, and use your British accent." I said, "Okay, Guruji, when do you
Mhm.
want me to do this?" He's like, "When? When? Now!" So he gave me the mic, and I said, "Sorry, all right, everyone. Apologies, apologies. Can I get your attention, please? Sorry, hello, up the stairs. We just like to have you back here. We forgot one thing. It's my fault. There's a gorgeous cake all the way to my right. And as fate would have it, it needs to be cut. So if we
Wow.
can all just come back for 2 minutes, we'll process next to the cake and we're going to wrap around it. My future mum here is going to stand behind the cake. We're going to sing happy birthday. We're going to sing happy birthday. It's going to be lovely and beautiful. And after that, we'll cut the cake, we'll divvy it up, and then we'll proceed to go back upstairs. Apologies. Cheers."
Oh, Lord.
And then and Guruji took the mic. He said, "All right, good job, good rule."
Did you know that his wife actually from the same village where I'm from, Lenora?
And his wife and I were born the same day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're both born on November 10th.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yeah, Guruman, my Guruman.
You know, let me ask you, since you're so connected to your Guruji and, you go to temple, um, how difficult it is to be a pandit,
Mhm.
especially right here in our community.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most hardest things to do. I give a lot of credit to the renaissance going on of young pundits that you're seeing. You're seeing younger pundits taking this up, taking the charge, succeeding, thriving, delivering beautiful pravachans. Our last reminder in the park, if I were to mention names, it would be too long. But I'd say my brother, Acharya Arun Gosai, has a much very similar story to me. In fact, probably more dramatic. He would be a good person to have in your studio.
Oh, if you could hook it up, no
Yeah, he
problem.
and I both worked at Ernst and Young for a bit.
Oh, really?
He actually was the subject of. He suffered from some racism when he was there. He claims some discrimination. Someone discriminated against him when he was there.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have that experience, but he eventually left to travel to India after his father passed away, and he became literally he became a monk under the Chinmaya mission,
Oh, really?
and he studied in India for 2 years, and came back. And the Chinmaya mission, they make you memorize the entire Bhagavad Gita
Oh, wow.
by song. So he was like singing it every morning,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's an acharya at the Bhubaneswar Mandir, but he also teaches a Gita class. And on record, that Gita class, just to let everyone know, that Gita class helped me towards my path to sobriety,
Good for you.
because that's where actually Lord Krishna says that you are most powerful when you are clear-minded.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not when, as opposed to what I was battling with, was like this concept of like Shiva Ratri, or like the Shiva holiday, where it's in India, you take a lot of what I've heard. I haven't been there, but you take a lot of marijuana and you put it into a pit, and you light this pit on fire, and you breathe in the marijuana,
Wow.
and that's called like this Shiva. It's like a Shiva holiday, So in my mind, I was like, oh, this is in my faith, it's okay for me to do this. But Acharya Arun, he said, contrary to what you think, the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, only when you are most clairvoyant
Mhm.
and the most clear-minded can you succeed in all of your challenges. And that made me think, like, so I'm living a lie, me ingesting all this into my system, thinking this is helping me. It's not leading me to be the most clear-minded, and so I'm actually living the wrong path.
Right.
And it was Arun Gosai's Gita class that I've read the Gita back to front many
You did?
times. Yeah, many times. I mentioned it in the book. I read it every day, and it was that him looking at him being completely sober and living his true self helped me live my true self.
Um, you talk about the Bhagavad Gita in your book too,
Mm-hmm.
and how has it influenced your life?
Sure. Yeah.
How has it influenced your life?
I can tell you it has influenced my life by helping me to be in a constant state of meditation.
Mhm.
So, for example, the Bhagavad Gita says that while you're thinking, eating, sleeping, doing work, you're always breathing. And so
True.
your breathing is happening from the day you're born to the day you die. Your
Correct.
breathing never stops.
Right.
Even when you're sleeping or even when you're unconscious, you're still
Mhm.
breathing.
Right.
And Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that is the secret to self-realization, to always think about me in the back of your mind, just as your mind breathes for your whole body.
Mhm.
And if you can always say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, almost as your body is breathing, he says, then you are fit for higher knowledge.
Mhm.
You are fit for self-realization. And so
Good.
when I heard that, I said, gosh, so I'm supposed to always be in meditation? And Lord Krishna says in the last chapter, very, very deep, very deep. So Arjuna says, what do I do? How do I vanquish my enemies?
Mm.
And Lord Krishna says, easy. Some days you will be me, and some days I will be you,
Right.
because I created all of you.
Mhm.
Technically, if you meditate long enough, you can elevate yourself to my status. And when you elevate yourself to my status, not only will you become me, then I will become you. And they switch. And that helps tremendously towards meditating. If you're going through a big challenge in life, big job interview, or you may have found something that could be cancerous in your body. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, if you constantly meditate and focus on me, that cancer can diminish.
Mm.
right? That cancer can diminish to the point of where it becomes extinct in your body, but you
Mhm.
have to have this positive mindset that you're connected to the superconscious, and the superconscious will connect back to you and provide you with the health, that good health, and the solutions that you need.
You know, as you're talking, and one question I had earlier that
Mm,
we were talking, now, you're smart, you're intelligent, you, with your past, and I'm glad, like I said, you document all the things that you went through. Do you do any kind of like talking, like motivational speaking at a Monday? Because I think that listening to you, I think you will do well, really well at that in helping our generation, our next generation, so that they don't go into make the same mistake that you've made.
mm,
You
mm-hmm,
know what I'm saying? Because
mm-hmm,
hey, you deal with a lot of guys who used to smoke pot,
mm-hmm, still.
and
Mm-hmm,
now you have branched away from that. So
mm-hmm.
if you haven't done so, I think it's a good thing to start.
That's why I wanted to go on your show. I
Oh,
wanted,
really?
this might be the start.
Yes, yes.
You're 100% correct. I think your crystal ball is looking and revealing to you the
Hmm.
right things,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I can feel that. And
Hmm.
so when you put your mind, what I can tell you do well is these interviews that you do on the show.
Hmm.
You're actually you generate questions for the guest.
Right.
So what you do, you meditate on your guest.
Hmm.
And by meditating on your guest, you're blessing your guest, because now you're sending good vibrations to your
Hmm.
guest. And when you make someone feel comfortable or make someone feel at home, that brings a positive karmic cycle. So by you engaging in good karmic action, you create good karma in the person next to you. So now I feel leaving here, I'll say, wow, Ken, treated me to amazing questions. He made me feel at home.
Oh yeah.
I will now think about you in a very positive way, in
Hmm.
a very heavenly, angelic, spiritual way. So now
Yes, yeah.
if I was in the mandir and someone says, pray for your close relatives, pray for your friends, pray for your pitras, and I would be like, I'm thanking my friends, I'm thanking my family. Let me thank Ken too,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I'm
Thank
offering
you.
things
Thank you.
to the Lord. Um, to answer your question, I wrote this book mainly for young men going through addiction,
Good.
going through substance addiction,
Hmm.
going through mental health challenges.
Right.
I think even as soon as recent as last week, another young man's life was lost. I saw on Colleen Chattergoon's page.
Hmm.
She delivered a eulogy for her relative, a
Hmm.
young man, probably 38 years old,
Wow.
right? Young guy. And I, you can actually track, if you track your social media feed from January to December, you'll just scroll through all these young men that have passed away under the age of 50. And it's shocking that we don't see this with young women.
Right.
We don't see a young woman passing away, another young woman passing away.
True.
There was a young woman in Guyana who passed away, but she was ill,
Right.
right?
I
Right?
know that story. Yeah, where
And
you talk. Yes.
and so that was known.
Hmm.
But when you have these shocking overnight phone calls and then Facebook posts, even my cousin last year passed away at 42.
Mm.
His favorite drink was Hennessy, unfortunately. But
Wow.
he didn't do his body good, but maybe there wasn't that person there, that angel on his shoulder,
Hmm.
to say, look, you may be secretly depressed. You may not know it.
Hmm.
I'm here to help you. There's a path towards sobriety, and it
Hmm.
starts from day one. And I'd like my book to be something where viewers who are watching, any women who know any male in their life that's suffering from mental health challenges or addiction, maybe this book can be a path to salvation for that person. And then, once my kids are a little bit older, maybe in less than a year or a year, I'd love to take up your idea and
Hmm.
go from like mandir to
Yeah,
mandir,
man.
and
Definitely.
not just mandirs,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
Masjids, gurdwaras,
Right.
churches. I want to go to where the people are and let them know, like, if you know someone who's suffering from addiction, because all these weed shops they're just gateways, like you said, they're
Gateways,
gateways
yeah.
to addiction, and the families won't talk about it. But I don't mind speaking to these people in private, and maybe even starting some type of like a AA group,
Right,
right?
right.
Just for our Indo-Caribbean
Correct.
brothers
Absolutely.
in a mandir or in a masjid.
Yes. And you could start, the truth of the matter is that you could start this right in our community.
Hmm.
You get some of your friends and start it there.
Yep.
I'm definitely going to be with you with that if
Hmm.
you want to.
Sure.
But why I started this show, I just a regular guy came from Guyana, and I'm working now in South Ozone Park for
Mm.
like 20 something years.
Mm.
And so what I was seeing that now and again you see a Guyanese would come in, either male or female, addicted to drugs or they're alcoholics.
Yeah.
And I am looking for the future now, what
Mm.
our future looks like.
Mm.
And then for the first year, I see 5 patients coming in.
Mm.
Then I see 10 coming in.
Mm.
And so I tell myself, you know what? Our community is heading the wrong direction.
Mhm.
And are we really ready? And do we know what's really going on? I mean, you might know.
Mm.
Where are we heading where it comes
Mhm.
to drugs and
Mhm.
alcoholism? We know that in Guyana, there's a lot of alcohol going on.
Mhm.
But are we ready, or do we know what's going on with the drugs? And so
Mhm.
that's why I started the show.
Mm.
I noticed
Mm.
too that our American patients, they know all their medication we're taking, they know the color,
Mm.
and some of our Guyanese patients, most of our Guyanese patients don't know what we're taking.
Mm.
That I give them 10 medication to drink, they just drink it and they don't know.
Mm.
So that's where I really wanted to come in to see how um, I could help and
Mhm.
chip in with things. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's why I tell you, because I could
Mm.
see, where you at with this
Mhm.
and how you can help. Because unless you been to this place, you would not know
Yeah.
what it feels like.
Yeah.
So
If you haven't lived the
I would,
nightmare. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I strongly encourage you, my brother,
Mm.
you thing, and hope that I wanted to do something in alcoholism and drug abuse in
Mm.
Queens, and hope that we could partnership sometime next year,
We will. We
so
will.
that we could,
We will.
because the truth of the matter is that families I see, and sometimes I tear up as big man as
Mm.
60. Um, I met this family a couple of weeks ago, and I tear up because
Mm.
here it is. This young boy is using drugs, and the
Mm.
parents don't know what to do with him.
Mm.
And he was sleeping in their car
Mm.
in the driveway. And I'm like, Jesus, how can I help?
Mm.
But
And
these are not the stories that
he
you
has
hear.
a room to sleep in, but he's not sleeping in the
Right.
room.
He
He's sleeping in
can't.
the car.
The parents don't want him to stay in the house, because you
Oh
and I
wow.
know
Oh wow. Wow.
when
Wow.
you do drugs and alcohol and these kind of things,
Mm.
the kind of behavior that comes with this:
Yeah.
stealing,
Yeah. Mm.
right?
Lying.
Lying,
Mhm.
cheating,
Mhm.
the whole 9 yards.
Mhm.
So probably we'll talk about that another day.
Mm.
But definitely you'll be a great asset to
Mm.
start something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah. And we'll work together on that. We'll
Definitely,
work
I'm with
together
you.
on that. Yeah.
Now, like I said, I'm so proud of you that you author your book and you start your book. Um, that's a great accomplishment. I can't wait to finish to
I heard.
complete
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
So
I return the favor. I'll
yes.
host you on my show.
Hey, you never know.
I
You
don't have
gotta
a show,
ask
but
me. No, but you
I'll
never know.
just I'll use your studio.
You can do that. You can do that. Like I tell people, you know what? I just want to be used as a vessel.
Hmm.
I've accomplished all the things I want in my life. Like I tell you, and I tell people, I am just sailing through now. And if I could be used by God,
Hmm.
or I could help somebody to let them their dreams come to reality, it's fine.
Hmm.
And I've learned that, I want to believe my community loves me,
Hmm.
and I get the respect,
Yes.
and so I want to, anybody want me to help them come use my studio,
Hmm.
that's fine, not a problem.
Hmm.
So what inspired you really to write this book? And I gotta tell you, I loved it. From the time you look at this book, I see myself. You
You
still,
have, I
you're still
mean,
there. um
Ken, you have a lot more hair in your head than I do. So
yeah,
I'm
no.
trying to be like you. I'm trying to age gracefully like you are. And
Mhm.
hopefully something's gonna grow back here. I
Oh,
don't
it can
know.
grow back, you never know.
Maybe after the pandemic, it never grew back. But
Wow.
I'm hoping that something will happen.
So what inspired you really to write this book?
Um, That's a good question. So I was in my graduate school class, political science class, and Dr. Douglas Musio, who's a political consultant, he's often quoted in the New York Times and the Daily News and New York Post. We were taking the train back together. I was going home, and he was going to NYU because he
Right.
also teaches at NYU. And he said, so Rohan, like, he's Italian. He's like, Rohan, who are you? Tell me your story. Like, who
Right.
the hell are you?
Right.
And I said, oh, I'm a former degenerate gambler who
Wow.
didn't succeed that much in real estate, and so I'm here. And he's like, what? You're a degenerate gambler who didn't succeed in real estate? Tell me more. We got 2 train stops. And I
Right.
told him, I was running a poker ring in my parents' garage, and that was going quite well until a neighbor called the cops, and then like 15 cop cars
Oh, wow.
were outside my parents' house, and someone tipped me off a few hours before that the cops were coming. So they said, Rohan, don't have a game that night. And then all these squad cars came, and
Nothing was going on.
nothing was going on, but they completely shut down the whole operation. And so that's when everything stopped. I later went into real estate. Then I went from Queens into Manhattan real estate. And when I did Manhattan real estate, I was kind of left to the dogs. No one helped me. No one wanted to take me under their wing. No one wanted to show me the ropes. And especially in Manhattan, like you either work there for a few weeks, and if you don't collect a commission, they fire you. So I was like struggling until I found a mentor. His name was Arthur Fenton, who looks like Kevin Costner, and he trained
wow.
me. He trained me in about Manhattan real estate. He took me under his wing and trained me.
Right.
And then after he and I kind of like broke up because he wanted me to not go to graduate school.
Oh, wow.
He said, Rohan, you're going to waste your time. Like, don't you go to graduate school to get a good job? But you already have a good job. Why are you going to go back to graduate school? And I think we had like an impasse, and then he fired me, and then I went to work. I went to Baruch, and then I got an internship there. And so my professor heard all this, and my professor said, Rohan, that's your life? I said, yeah, that's my past. He goes, you better write a freaking book about this.
Oh, wow.
Or I'm going to kick your ass.
Oh, wow.
He was very, very, he didn't mince words.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started. I said, you think I should write a book? And he goes, Rohan, that's how it all starts. Don't you know? If you want to become a doctor, like a PhD, you got to write a thesis. A thesis is 400 pages.
Mm.
You got to start somewhere. But you got it in you, Rohan. Write the goddamn book.
Oh, wow.
And he got off his train station, and I was meditating on this. I said, write a book? I don't know if I could write a book. And then the pandemic hit, March 2020. The entire city shut down. We were all working from home. I had all this free time. I had an iPad with a keyboard that I was never using. And I told my wife, my wife was working in the living room. I'm working in the bedroom.
Oh, wow.
We're both working at home in different areas. I'm working at the mayor's office. She's working for the city council.
Really?
And then I got all this free time. I said, you know what, honey? I think I'm just going to write a page a day. And that's how it started. And I started from when I was the gambler in my parents' garage.
Wow.
Yeah. I paid 1 page a day. One
Page a day.
Like 300 to 400 words a day.
Oh, wow. That's a lot, too.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's play a song.
Sure.
Probably for Aminta.
Please.
Let's play a song for Aminta. Let's go.
Natural beauty. Yeah. No, I've never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try. Yeah. Oh, yes. Let me get my words right and then approach you. When I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry. No. I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. And she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind. No, the way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen. She's a queen. Ooh, ooh, what a natural beauty. No need no makeup to be a cutie. She's a queen. She's a queen. And when they ask what a good woman's made of, she's not afraid and ashamed of who she is. She's royal, yeah, so royal. And I need her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind until the night that I see her rise. Oh, my queen, so supreme. I can see it in her eyes, the way she smiles. Hey, yes, I know the king and queen crown. See, I'm tired, so I never leave your side. Just stick with me through the trial times. Oh, and she says she no mind. Correct, I know good man is hard to find. Cause she can't about that giant line. That's why she has no ties at this time. Yeah, I know many men are trying, but she needs to be more than wine and dine because she's royal, yeah, so royal, and I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so divine. Oh, the way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen, so supreme. Ooh, ooh, what a natural beauty. No need no makeup to be a cutie. She's a queen, so supreme. Yeah. And when they ask what a good woman's made of, she's not afraid and ashamed of who she is. She's royal, yeah, so royal, and I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind. No, no, the way she moves to her own beat, she has the qualities of a queen.
All right, welcome back to the Ken Rampersaud Show right here on Island Zone Radio. And I see Sherry Algaredo she's tuned in. Thank you very much, my dear.
Thank you, Sherry.
She says she's tuning in to support Rohan.
Thank you.
That's good. Your wife said, Sherry, she's always grateful for Sherry. And Aminta says, sometimes it takes an ultimatum from a spouse or partner. Sometimes it takes tough love to get to sobriety. And it is a true story too. And I have to say that she said, Aminta said, the weed shop are a real problem. Easy access to too many of our youths. And I know that I talk to Sherry now and again, and it's a true story.
Very,
It's
very,
it's
yeah.
it's like a
They
big
they
problem.
they go in and the older siblings or the older cousins will buy it
Yes.
for their younger family members.
Wow.
And there's kids as young as like 12 and 13 who are
Yes.
vaping and addicted.
That's
And
terrible.
the parents have no idea because when if you take the train into work, right before they get on the train, they take a big hit of the vape and they exhale it and then they go on the train to take the train into work, and they have whatever's in their head has got them so high and they're so buzzed that who knows what they're learning when they go to school.
Right.
You
It
know?
is so true. I see we have Dr. Dan Paul now tuned in.
Oh, great.
Congratulations.
Hey, Dad.
Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you can listen from the beginning of the show tomorrow, or sometime with your coffee or your tea or whatever it is. Rohan, now that you have authored this book, do you see yourself um, when when I was writing my book? Sometimes tears came to my eyes.
Mm.
What was the hardest part of writing this book?
I think the hardest part was acknowledging that I was an addict and acknowledging that I had a problem. And so there were a few points in the book where I had to write it like it was.
True.
And there was uh, a real estate transaction I needed to close in order to purchase an engagement ring for my fiance, to make her my
Right.
fiance.
Right. Right.
And that deal was not going very well. And I remember very clearly when the deal was about to collapse. I got off the train, called one of my friends, and I said, I got to smoke some weed right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just like that, And he said, "What happened? Is everything okay?" I said, "Nah, man. I don't think I'm gonna be able to close this deal to buy an engagement ring for my wife."
Right.
And I had to write that. I was like, "Should I write that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Should I just say it was tough to close this deal, or should I say it was tough to close this deal and I wanted to get high immediately?"
Right.
I said I got it right. I needed to get high immediately.
You need to speak the truth.
I
Yeah.
had to I had to be honest with myself,
Correct is
because
right.
that's exactly what happened. They
Yes.
can't leave out bits and pieces and make it the story you think people are going to want to read, because you'd be lying to yourself,
Absolutely.
and it became a story about addiction, but it was originally supposed to be my successes and failures with jobs.
Right. Right.
And then while I was writing it, I realize now why I lost all these jobs, because I was an addict.
Right. Right.
If I just wasn't addicted, maybe I would have been at this one job for 10 years.
You know, I'm glad you say that because when I was reading your book, this is what was going through my mind while I was reading your book. I says, wait, Rohan has his father knows billions of people who
Mm-hmm.
got good jobs, who could help him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rohan could get a good job. All he dad got to do is pick up the phone,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
Aminta could call too.
Sure. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got so much resources.
Yeah.
How come he wasn't able to hold these jobs down,
Right.
and he's having issues?
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
That came to my mind.
Yeah. Me too.
So in your opinion, you think that because you were still with the marijuana,
I would say so.
you
I
would
would
say
say so.
so?
I would say now, being sober for maybe a year or going almost a year,
Yes.
I would say that I was in my strongest I had my strongest mental power when I was in college.
Oh, good for you.
That's when I was not doing anything. It was when I lost my job that I spiraled.
Hmm.
But you should have seen me in college, buddy.
Oh,
Anything I wanted, I put my mind on it, I got.
good for you.
I was a freshman and there was an opening for an internship at Ernst and Young, and they only accepted people from junior year. So I was 2 years away from that.
Mm.
And I said, "What if I went on the interview?" And they said, "Rohan, they won't hire a freshman." And I went on that interview and they
Mhm.
loved me so much they made me an offer.
Good for
And I
you.
was one of the youngest interns ever at Ernst and Young at like 19 years old, where
Mhm.
usually they take you when you're 21 or when you're about to graduate.
Wow.
And I realized, I said, gosh, looking back on that, I said, how was I so successful in college?
Hmm.
And now I'm 25, 26 years old and I can't even get a job.
Hmm.
Granted, there was a recession, but that's no excuse. If you're resourceful, if you're smart, if you're hardworking, if you can multitask, you can get a job, right? No matter what the circumstances are, there are jobs out there. This is New York City. There's no recession in Manhattan. That's what I
Right.
learned, right?
Right. Right.
Maybe in other parts of the country, but you go to Manhattan where there's Wall Street, there's pharmaceuticals, there's big real estate companies. You can make it if you really want to. And there's the fashion industry in Manhattan.
Right.
There was definitely opportunity there, but I realized it was my addiction holding me back.
Mm.
I was not focused on the tasks at work. I was doing the tasks,
Yes.
but I was waiting for like 5 o'clock.
Wow. You can't wait for 5 o'clock to go bust a joint.
4:59 exactly. 4:59 I'm out, and then 7 o'clock I'm calling a friend, and
Um.
I couldn't get that habit out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Rohan, I'm going to slip in a question here.
Mhm.
I should have asked this earlier, but how is it to um, your wife is an attorney? How how is it to live with a wife who's very smart and brilliant
Mhm.
and she's an attorney?
Mhm.
Um, how is that for you?
Aminta is in many ways, she's my mentor.
Oh,
Yeah, she's my greatest teacher. You know, she is someone that I look up to.
that's a great
Um,
thing.
she recently gave a speech. She accepted an
The
award
award. Yeah.
for Phi Zeta Zeta
Right.
sorority, and
Mhm.
when she accepted that award, she spoke without a sheet of paper, without a teleprompter, without a prepared speech, and she gave the best speech out of all the award recipients.
Wow.
You know, and what she said was very interesting. She said she started and ended with this sentence. She said, "Let us as women continue to fix each other's
Crown.
crowns
Yes.
and give each other crowns."
Right. Right.
And then when she ended, she said, "Thank you so much for this opportunity. And let's not forget, as women, let's fix each other's crowns and give each other crowns."
Mm-hmm.
And us as men, we don't do that for our fellow men.
Mm-hmm.
When a man sees another man falling, they'll say, "Are you okay?" Like, "Yeah, I'm not doing too well. I think I have an addiction." "Man, you don't get no addiction, man. Let's go knock a drink."
Yes.
Right? Or like, "Oh man, I think I need to quit this weed, bro. Like, I love you and everything, and I want to keep on smoking the joints, but I think I gotta stop." Like, "Man, you don't got no addiction to this joint. Yo, hit this joint."
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I think, men, from man to man, we need to support another man's question to quit.
Right. Right.
Like, "I think this is affecting my life. I think I need to quit." And what that man should say is, "Yo, quit. That's a good thing you're doing. I'm proud of you.
Right. Yeah.
Even though I smoke pot and maybe I have a
Wow.
problem too. Yo, Rohan, I give you credit for wanting to quit weed. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing that. And you know what? Tomorrow, if you call me, I'm not gonna pick up.
Right.
Right? I'm not gonna sell you weed because I want to support
That's a good
your
thing.
principle to try and quit. I'm gonna try to help you kick the habit."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Aminta's work is helping other women with not just their addictions, but with any domestic violence issue, with any food insecurity issue, with any relationship challenges they may have, with any mental health challenges, right? And Aminta does this while she has kids. I don't know
Right.
how she does this, right? She has the most advanced iPhone. Maybe that's how she does it. But actually, how she does it is she has a team, and she has a team of women that she supports and that support her.
Beautiful. And that's
if
what you need.
if there was, she runs South Queens Women's March, and imagine if there was a South Queens Men's March,
Mm-hmm.
right? A one-stop nonprofit shop to help men with all types of challenges: mental health, drug abuse, domestic violence, criminal records. Once you get a phone call from the police, they come to your door and you're accused of abusing your partner, you get a criminal record, you can't get a job, right? And they're
Mhm.
going to search that, and you could be barred from being employed by the city for a number of years.
Right.
So
Right.
what do you do when that happens? A man needs a support system around him.
Absolutely.
Maybe you question. There's a lot of men out there that I've heard that question over time their own sexuality. Like, "Oh, I didn't know. I was just living this life, and maybe I'm going in a different direction, but I have no one to talk to." And then they contemplate suicide. They may think, "Oh, look, no one's going to accept me. Maybe I should just go into a dark space." And then it leads to drug, alcohol, this, that. And then all of a sudden, you see a Zoom link to their wake
Yeah.
on social media, and you don't know how.
Rohan, it could be difficult because for me, I have seen about 5 people overdose, real person,
Mm,
and died.
Jeez.
Some of them
Through your
died
job.
through my job. I didn't see them for a day or two. I go search for them. They're dead in the bathroom with a needle in
Wow.
the hand, or
Jeez.
they die in the bed with a needle in the hand. So all of these, and that's why probably I move away from that job. It was getting to me
Mm,
too much.
mm.
So that's a sad part, and I hope that I know we are there, but I hope that it doesn't go farther than that. You
It's
know,
I think to close the loop on being married to an attorney.
Mm.
Um, Aminta, like my guru, also is very candid,
Mhm.
and she tells it like it is.
Oh wow.
She would tell me, she's like, "Since I have been dating you, you have no appetite."
Oh wow. Oh really?
Like, "Why do you not have an appetite around me?" Because I
Oh.
needed to smoke to get hungry. And if I was hanging out with her, I wouldn't smoke. So when we went out to eat, I wasn't hungry.
Oh wow.
And I realized, and then she was like, I said, "Oh my gosh, I think she picked up on something,"
Yes.
right? She realized I have no appetite because I'm not hungry and I
Mhm.
need to smoke to get hungry. Oh, shoot.
Wow.
right? And if I smoked and then hung out with her, she's like, your eyes are a little red.
Oh wow.
Your eyes are a little glazed. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You're not your usual self. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I'm okay. Let's go eat. And she's like,
Oh.
why are you hungry now? So like all these things. I was like, man,
Yeah.
I can't be this guy.
Yeah. You can't hide it no
No,
more.
I can't hide this no more. And I'm into sharp,
Mhm.
sharp, sharp, sharp.
Good.
And that her putting up with me for those years, and she was like, look, I mean, I know that you are struggling. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm not struggling. And she goes, you could say no, but I see through
Oh
you.
wow.
I see right through you. I can tell
Good.
you're struggling.
Yeah.
And one day when you want to kick that habit, I'm here for you.
Oh wow. She said that.
Right. She's like, one day when
How
you're...
you felt when she said that?
I felt embarrassed.
Oh wow.
I said, I don't have a problem, but I was like, man, this person is like my guru living with me every day.
Yeah.
Where my guru just sees me once in a while.
And-
She would tell me and say, look, this is up to you. I'm here to support you,
And
but
that's profound too, because some
Yeah.
women would say, listen, I don't need you. Get out of my house.
exactly.
I don't need nobody who
Exactly.
smoke pot.
Exactly.
Especially in a woman of her stature.
For context, I mean, I dated a doctor once,
You did?
a medical doctor.
Oh, wow.
And she saw right through me.
Oh wow.
She's like, Rohan, I can't be with you.
Oh wow.
She's like, here, take this back.
Oh wow.
Don't pick me up anymore because you have a problem. And I was like, oh man, how does she know? And I was like, I never wanted to accept that.
Right.
And I tried to smoke less, or I tried to be around that company less. And I realized that was the beginning of like the light bulb that said, shoot, I have a problem.
Yes.
But I meant to really put the pedal to the metal, like my back to the wall. And she
Yeah.
said, this is something that, like you're telling me, like you're a smart guy, you can defeat this, you're better than this,
Mhm.
you're more powerful than this, the mind over matter, like just
Correct.
move past this thing. And now that marijuana is legal everywhere, it's like my wife asks the same question. She's like, are you sober? Are you okay? Like, do you feel the need to get high sometimes? And sometimes I think about it, especially if I'm passing by a neighborhood.
And you smell that good marijuana.
I went to order a turkey sandwich from a deli, and right outside the deli, the guy was rolling up the weed.
Oh wow.
And he saw me with my scooter. He said, yo, that's a nice scooter, man. Let me
Yeah.
see. And I was showing him the scooter. He said, yo, the scooter's dope, yo. Hey, man, you're a cool guy. And I said, yo, hit this. And I said, nah. I said, you wouldn't know my journey, man. I went through that for years. Like,
Right.
I've gotten what you did to me, I've accepted hundreds of times before you. So I appreciate it, but enjoy. And maybe
Aw.
the next guy with a scooter is gonna strike up a conversation with you and hit that joint, but not
Yeah.
me. Not me. I can't do it.
Do you see yourself writing another book?
That's a good question. This is the first of 3.
Oh really?
Yeah, this is a trilogy. So I'm hoping to have this ends in 2019.
Oh wow.
So this book is from 2009 to 2019. Then I'm going to work on something about my entire time at the mayor's office. Working under Bill de Blasio and what that was like, and being drilled in how to deliver a good report to him, briefing him on events in the South Asian community, COVID hitting, and then what it was like working at the mayor's office during COVID, and then eventually, my dismissal from the mayor's office. So that like 4-year period, that 3 or 4 year period is like part 2.
Wow.
And then part 3 is after the mayor's office. And hopefully I'll talk about what it was like to the challenges with conception of my wife and I trying to successfully conceive. And then, actually ending, maybe the book will end with us having our twins.
Beautiful. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Do you see yourself going back to school to get a PhD?
You know what? I mean, we were talking about this earlier. If I could use ChatGPT to help me with my dissertation or my
Oh
thesis,
really?
maybe. I mean, I don't know what. It's funny you mention it. I wrote about this in the book. My master's degree was on the capstone was about suicide, and the suicide ideation and suicide problem in Guyana.
Right.
And so my dad was kind enough to buy a ticket for me. We flew down to Guyana, and we did a qualitative and quantitative study about the impact of a suicidal ideation on the Afro-Guyanese community and the Indo-Guyanese community, and the differences and similarities between the two, and then rendering a final opinion. When I submitted my paper to my professor, Professor Christine Balboa, she did her PhD at Princeton. She read my paper and she said, you started this class with a C. and you're ending this class
A.
with an A.
I got you. Yeah.
And
Good.
I'm telling you this because, Rohan, this should be a PhD. You should go back to Guyana and do years of research
Oh wow.
and document this and have that be your doctorate, Rohan, because you have the genesis of the first section of your PhD. And go back down there, do a couple more 100 pages,
Oh wow.
and finish it. And
But
I I would probably do something. And I think right now, too, very quick for a few seconds, Guyana is going through a huge change,
right.
right? We're still having a lot of Guyanese getting an influx of money, but they're still addicts. And so I heard that there's addicts just walking the streets,
Really?
and male and female, who are alcoholics because now they have all this money coming in. What are they going to do with that money? There's only one there's only one university, right?
Mhm.
So we need to have more universities. We need to have more schools that teach them engineering, medicine, law in Guyana. But for the time being, there's a big, I would say, Jekyll and Hyde, right? There's the oil boom,
Right.
but the population isn't ready for that, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
You know, I did a debating competition in Guyana
Oh wow!
for suicide prevention too.
Oh wow! Wow! Wow!
Yeah, it
Wow.
was great. I had the student nurses and hundreds of people.
Huh. We should take a DNA test. We're probably related.
I like that. Right? But my heart I left Guyana a long time, but my heart and soul is still there. And I really want to do some work with suicide prevention and domestic violence.
You probably know Anand Budram.
Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah.
started with him.
Oh yeah, Anand Budram
Yeah,
is a
I
big
started, yeah.
fan of.
Yeah.
He's big in suicide prevention.
Right.
Guyana.
So that's where I started, really. You know.
Oh.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that another day. So let's talk a little bit about how you end up with your real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that on the like looking on the crystal ball. I didn't see you being a real
Yeah,
estate guy.
yeah. A lot of my entryway into the community was through the mayor's office.
Right.
Before that, I was more of like a Mandir kid, and I've done. My wife and I, we co-founded a nonprofit called Sadhana,
Right.
Coalition of Progressive Hindus, more like liberal Hinduism.
Right.
We did that through beach cleanups for a
Right.
number of years.
Right.
And so people knew me as like doing beach cleanups and then doing the Mandir. But when I got this job at the mayor's office, this was a big thing during the pandemic where I eventually went against the grain. I went on Facebook and I said, we have access to personal protective equipment, to PPE. And that's when the floodgates opened and everyone came to me for PPE. But before that, I was mentored by Shanti Amar
I
at
know.
Remax. She's a good friend of both my dad and my guru, Dharmacharya Panichilma. And she is a philanthropist. She is a real estate broker. She was more like a real estate guru to me. When I was struggling and I lost my job, I was playing poker in my parents' garage. And one of her agents came to my garage and was playing poker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was winning. And he looked at me, he said, you on bright man? What you doing? No job? I said, come, take your real estate license, work with me. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I said, where do you work? He gave me his card and he worked for Shanti Amar for Remax 2000. I said, shucks, I know Shanti. I should probably go and
Yeah.
take my real estate license and try. I was good. I had good people skill, but I was not aggressive. I didn't have an ounce of aggression.
Right.
I didn't know how to say, okay, Ken, here's a pen. That's a contract. Sign the contract.
Right. Right.
Okay, and go to the bank and get 2 cashier's checks and then get a third one and make that cashier check out to Rohan Narayan.
Right. Right.
When? Now, today, go now, come back. I
Yes.
didn't have that aggression.
Yeah, and I see that too. You're not an aggressive guy.
Yeah.
You're more meek and humble
Yeah. I
kind
was
of guy.
more like
easygoing.
easygoing Pandit son.
Yeah.
I'll take you to moksha, but I'm not going to put you in a house.
Right. Right. Right.
And a couple people looked at me and said, Rohan, you have no aggression. You don't have an ounce of aggression. You can't make it in this business.
Right. I saw that in you too.
And so I said, how do I learn aggression? How do I become aggressive? And he's like, easy. You have to tell people what to do.
Right.
You take them in the house. How many houses you show them, Rohan? I said, you show them as many as they want? No. You show them 3 houses. That's it. And when they're done, you tell them, okay, we're going back to the office and you're going to choose one and tell them to sign the contract. I said,
Wow.
I can't do that. He's like, well,
Right.
you're not cut out for this business.
Right.
But it was when I eventually went to Douglas Elliman, and I was mentored by Arthur Fenton, and he was a real estate broker in Manhattan, and he told me all that. He said, okay, Rohan, show them 3 apartments. That's it. And tell them to choose one and tell them to sign a lease.
Oh wow.
And that's how I learned to be a good real estate agent.
We talk about a couple of things.
Mhm.
Um, what advice now that you're a father and one day your kids will grow up to be adults? What would your conversation be with them? Um, and I want you to talk a little bit too, and I'm going to share Guyana parenting. As parents, sometimes we don't talk about things.
Mhm.
We let things go.
Mhm.
How you going to be different?
Mm.
Like my father never tell me I love you,
Mm.
and I tell my
Mm.
boys I love you.
Mm.
So how your role as a father would be different than your father?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So we have half an hour left. So this answer will
We
take 27
we
minutes.
got look, time going.
Okay.
Why?
This will be a long answer, but
No,
I
we have one more question, a big question for you. Your job at the mayor's office, because that's
okay.
going to close your book.
True, that's true. I'd love to go into that a little more
Yeah,
later. Um, so I've thought about this for years.
you did.
Yeah, I've thought about how am I going to be the best dad that I can be for my kids. And what I have learned is the power of humor. So I'll give you an example. Um, my dad never taught me about the birds and the bees, right? And I would have really appreciated that conversation because I think I learned about the birds and the bees from my guy friends, you know, and when I was at Ernst and Young, a director, his name was James Kerrigan. I'll never forget. He had 4 kids, and his first son was off to college. And he said, what I did with my son, and he's like, and you'll remember this, Rohan, when that time comes for you. It's like, don't ever let your kids learn about things behind closed doors from their friends.
Oh wow.
You need to teach them about that stuff. And
Mhm.
sometimes you may even need to show them that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, so my son is off to college. He's going to be dorming. I don't want my son getting wasted on alcohol or getting high on marijuana.
Hmm.
So what I did, Rohan, I took him to places in New York City where there are people who are drug addicts on the street.
Oh wow. So you could see.
Yeah, so he could see where they have a bottle next to them and they have a crack pipe next to them. And I said, you can try it once or twice, but the moment you get addicted, that's your path,
Hmm.
right? And he said, and so his son said, but Dad, I mean, so what do I do? And he was like, son, when you turn 21, you and I will have a drink.
Mm.
How about that?
Mhm.
Don't go out there and let your friends teach you about what it's like to drink a keg and get stoned and get
Mhm.
high. If you really, really, really are curious, I've never smoked weed, but if you really want to try it, I'll try it with you,
Oh wow.
you know? And he was
Yeah.
like, that's what you need to do, Rohan. You need
Mhm.
to have these hard conversations that you think you'll never have to have with your kids. You have to have it with them. And sometimes you may need to show them on the street. And worst case, you may need to like do it with them
Yes.
to show them what not to do because they'll never look up to you if you never have that experience with them.
Hmm.
I also thought about this, and that's what led me write the book. If my son or my daughter had any questions, like, Dad, what's marijuana? I'm like, I'm so glad you asked that. I wrote a book
Yeah.
called Decade of Discovery,
Mhm.
where I had a battle with that. And so I want you to read this book
Right.
and to learn from my mistakes, and to give them honest advice.
Yes.
Honest advice.
Honest.
I would never, ever, ever want the streets to teach them life lessons. I would rather teach them the life lesson.
Realistic lesson. And Rohan, one of the truth is, I heard this story. The lessons that you don't teach your children, the streets will teach them.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's the worst thing.
It's the worst. It's the
So you're
worst.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, we didn't talk. So if people want to buy your book,
Sure.
we should have said this before. How can they get your book to buy?
Send me a check for $100, and I'll keep $80, and I'll send you the book for $20 from Amazon. But there should be a link. There's an Amazon link. If you just go to Amazon, you actually type in my name, Rohan Narayan,
Right.
and I only have one book out, so it'll just pop up
The
there,
one book.
and it's currently on paperback. The reason why it's not on Kindle
Mhm.
is I'm trying to get people away from screens. I want to get people back into the habit of reading. A lot of
Mhm.
people do read, but I don't want it to be something that you just pay $2 for on Amazon Kindle and then you're reading it on your smartphone. I'd rather you purchase the book
Book, yeah.
and then read what it was like to go through that struggle, like page by page. And it's
Yes.
something a little different having the book in your hand.
And how much is the book?
The book is $19.95.
Good.
It's about the price of a monthly subscription to Amazon or a subscription to Walmart. It's about the one Happy Meal or one meal at McDonald's nowadays
Yeah.
with inflation. So or
With
it's
with a lot of work inside too.
and it's got a lot of life lessons. It's great again for young men. I encourage all young men between the ages of 18 to 40 to give the book a thought. You could sample a few pages on Amazon.
Oh,
I
really?
think the first 6 pages you can read, and those first 6 pages are pretty powerful.
Wow.
Where I really talk about my addiction, my job loss, begging my parents to move back into their house. So those first 6 pages are pretty powerful. But yep, you can find it on Amazon. It's 19.95, and we hope around like next year to try to do a Kindle version, depending on demand. So if people really are requesting the Kindle version, we could put it out there for like $9.95.
Yeah. So we are rolling down with time. We got half an hour more. Let's see. My next question to you is, what do you think that our culture in general? You came from England. You were born there. You didn't get a lot of things there, and then you went to Ghana. You went to South Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Johannesburg. In terms of culture, where you see we're heading?
I think I found where Facebook began the doorway to social media,
Mm-hmm.
and then Twitter turned it into just 124 characters. I find that we're giving rise to a generation that is lacking a little bit of depth.
Mm-hmm.
I could even ask you, do you know any 35 to 45-year-old male that's writing a book now? No, right? So I think there's, for example, I look at, you probably know her, Dr. Kamini Dubey,
Yes.
right?
I like her.
And
yeah.
we're Mundir friends. We grew up in the Mundir together.
Mhm.
And Dr. Dubey writes for our generation. What I mean by that, so many people will read her post that is 2 or 3 paragraphs
Mhm.
instead of reading a 130-page book.
Mhm.
And it's faster, it's on the screen, and you can actually leave a comment. You can interact with the author.
Mhm.
Where you buy my book, you're not really interacting with me.
Mhm.
You don't have the option to see my book on a screen. And I find that our culture is becoming more digital.
Mhm. It is.
We're seeing Mundir services on Facebook Live. So if you can't make it, tune into
Funeral?
right. We're seeing the someone going live for wakes and funerals.
Yes.
What is that doing to the mind, where we should be more intent on being present in the moment, but instead we want to broadcast everything we're doing. The phones make us our own journalist.
Yes.
We're now in charge of our own journalism company
Mhm.
called Your Name at Facebook. Like
Mhm.
you are now part of your own channel, your own social media
Mhm.
channel. It would be great if our culture took a step back and started to read the scriptures more, reading the Bible. if you're Christian,
Mhm.
reading the Quran if you're Muslim, right? Reading the Torah if you're Jewish, reading the Guru Granth if you're Sikh, and reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana and the Vedas if you're Hindu. You know, we need to go back to that and not always think that I need to have a quick comment or a ability to showcase what I'm doing
Right,
on
right.
social media. I think we need to take a step back, go more inward, and then really go back to a time where we were reading our religious scriptures more. I think that will enhance us because I think we're losing that in our culture.
Mhm. Good. So my next question to you is, I'm always proud of Guyanese or young people who get to work in great offices or do great things. How did you manage to get into the mayor's office to work?
Sure. Yeah, that's the
I think
question.
that's a
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
great thing for us too. So
Yeah.
be proud of you too for,
Yeah.
you know, putting your foot in that office.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
So I will give you the complete backstory because a lot of people, when I started,
right.
not just from Guyana, but people from India
Anywhere,
and
yes.
Bangladesh, I would start and say, Rohan, how do you get that job?
Yes.
And I said, oh, I interviewed. They're like, who is it that interview you? Right? Like, what is this position? Who hired before you?
Right.
All these questions. Um, so I was working, and I document this in the book. So you're asking me a little bit that I'm going to write in my next book. So
Okay.
I'll give you a sample.
All
And
right.
so this is
Yes. You don't
not.
have to say everything. Yeah.
I'll give you as much as I'll tell you how in candid how it happened. I was working at the mayor's office of contract services. So I got my master's degree. I was applying for jobs. Aminta was sending me job postings, and I was pushing out resume and cover letters.
Right.
And the mayor's office of contract services got back to me, and they said, we're looking for a procurement analyst, someone to read contracts that are put out onto the street for nonprofits to apply for and start getting contracts from the city. And we need someone to analyze that whole process.
Mhm.
After they hired me, I was hired into the hornet's nest. I didn't know. I was kind of thrown into the lion's den.
Mhm.
My manager was having an affair with his boss,
Oh, wow.
which is completely unethical and
Mhm.
illegal. And I didn't know. And when he was fired, the mayor's office in contracts believed me to be his close friend because he was my superior, and they began a process to get rid of me. They
Oh, wow.
engaged in a something called a personal improvement plan, or a PIP,
Yes, I read
which is
that.
a code for giving him a few grades on his work and then later on letting him go. My mentor knew this, and my mentor said, Rohan, you're going to get fired pretty soon. Do you have another job in line? And I said, no, I don't have anything lined up. What do I do? And he was like, find any job that's on the website and apply. So I was doing that. But the back of my mind, remember, I was a real estate agent.
Right.
So I know how to make people friends real fast.
Mhm.
And I eventually met someone in the lobby of my building, a black guy. He was holding a carrot cake from Whole Foods.
Mm.
And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I said, gosh, that cake looks delicious.
Mm.
Like, I'd love a slice.
Oh, wow.
Right? And he was like, you want a slice? 4th floor, 2:00. See you there.
Oh, wow.
And I said, no, I'm just kidding. I don't worry about it. I'm kidding. I'm joking. And he was like, I ain't joking. 2:00, 4th floor. See you there. And I said, okay. All right. So I waited, didn't take my lunch. 2:00 came around, went down to the 4th floor.
Mhm.
Elevator came in. The door was open. Needed an ID. I didn't have the ID to get in there. Someone opened the door for me. And I saw this black guy with the cake. And it was someone's birthday. And then he said, we are the mayor's community affairs unit. The way you introduced yourself in that elevator is the type of person we're looking for. Someone with
wow.
a sense of humor, someone who is very direct,
Mm.
someone who's a little aggressive. You said you want that cake. Like, we need someone like this to work right under Bill de Blasio
Oh, wow.
as our South Asian liaison.
Mm.
Are you interested?
Yes, I am.
I said, yes. I said, yes, I am interested. What do I do? Because my job was in jeopardy. You
Right.
know, my boss just got fired. No, they didn't know that. My mentor said, you better look for another job ASAP. And I just complimented this guy's carrot cake. And all of a sudden, the guy said, we're looking to hire someone.
Right,
I
right.
said, what do I do? And they said, well, you got to interview. send us your resume, send us a cover letter. I did all that and I interviewed, and that's how it happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I met someone. His name was Harold Miller. He became my new mentor. And
Is that the Guyanese guy?
yeah, yeah, you know him. Yeah,
I
you know
know him.
Harold.
I
Yeah.
interviewed him.
Oh, you did?
I did,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, when he was
I-
running for city council.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I know.
Harold hired me
Oh, really?
at Community Affairs Unit.
Oh, wow.
And Harold said, he was like, so Rohan, we don't have this position in our budget. This is a brand new position. We have an Asian liaison, and her job was to cover all of like the Asian subcontinent. And that was too much for her. So we're going to split her job and make her the Asian liaison, China,
Right, right.
China, Nepal, Thailand,
Japan and things.
Japan, right? Taiwan, and we're gonna make someone to be the South Asian
Oh,
liaison,
wow.
like Bangladesh, India,
Guyana and
and
stuff.
then I said, but I'm not Indian, and he was like, that's all right. You look Indian.
Right,
So I
right.
said, that's it. I was like, we just need someone who looks Indian,
Oh, wow.
and you're gonna work as a South Asian liaison. But I said, but I got to tell you, I want to do work in the Caribbean community because I'm Guyanese. And they said, if you could find a way to make that part of your portfolio, go right ahead, because we don't have a Caribbean liaison. Be the South Asian liaison and
Right.
work with the Indians in your community,
Right.
right? The Indo-Caribbeans, Indo-Trinidadians. And I said, oh, got you. Right, and that's how I started working there. So they had a whole new title for me and a whole new budget
Oh,
and a whole
wow.
new line item. I was their first South Asian liaison.
Oh, beautiful.
And that's how it all started.
So you made history.
Technically, I made history. So when I started, I was the first one,
Yeah.
and they had no job description. So I said, "What do I do?" And they said, "What do you do?" Like, Rohan, start going to events in your community and start giving out proclamations.
Oh, wow.
I said, "That's it." And they said, "You'll see how hard that is. Like, you don't know how hard that is now, but you're gonna have to read the proclamation if the mayor's not there, and you better pray the mayor doesn't show up, because then you have to brief the mayor on that event, and he's gonna grill you." And
Oh,
so
wow.
I had to prepare briefings. It really was a good thing I went to graduate school, because I had to prepare very detailed briefings for events that the mayor went to in the South Asian
Oh,
community.
wow.
So picture a dartboard. If there's like 25 liaisons, there's the Russian liaison, Jewish
Right.
liaison, Asian liaison, African liaison. Then there's one for each borough. There's a Queens liaison, Brooklyn liaison, Staten Island liaison, Manhattan liaison. Then there's like the South Asian liaison. And in their community, they're all wanting the mayor to go to their event.
Right.
There's
That's the goal.
there's the Greek parade. Like, oh, we have to get the mayor there. There's the India Day parade. Oh, the mayor got to go there. There's the Pagua parade. Oh, the mayor got to go there. So what they do, they literally give you a dart and you throw that dart on the board. And if you hit the bullseye, the mayor's going to your
Oh,
event.
really?
It was something like that.
Right, right.
Yeah, and that dart was your briefing. If you wrote the most detailed briefing,
Right.
who, date, time, place, who
Yes,
the
I
nonprofit
get
is,
you.
all the players in the event, and you know all of them by hand. You have their numbers in your phone on a text message basis. And if they ask for a name and number, you can connect them like that. With the click of a finger, you are important in your community. That bullseye may go to you, and the mayor may come to your event. So that's how the mayor came to the Little Guyana Street renaming,
Oh, wow.
because I was there for a number of years and I put in my time
Yes.
and I filled out an extremely detailed briefing.
Oh, good.
And I said, you know what, for my community, just do this. I need the mayor there.
Yes.
It's his last year in office.
Yes.
He's Bill de Blasio. I want him to remove the
The-
paper
Right, right.
that the DOT put there. So when
Yes.
he moves it out, it's going to say Little Guyana Avenue.
Yes.
I want the mayor to do that.
Oh, that's
So I filled out a detailed briefing. I worked with Adrienne Adams. She was a council member for that district. So we worked with her office. No proclamation. I briefed him on the way. I walked with him onto the stage. I told him who all the players were, and he gave a great speech. And then we later walked with the Tassa.
I was there.
Yeah,
I was there.
we walked with the Tassa all the way there. So many people were hounding him. I just say, okay, wait, no picture. Okay, wait, picture. I was like fielding him to go take pictures to and from. And then he stood up there and he pulled the sign
I
and
was
just revealed
there.
it.
That's
But
good.
our job is to be clandestine. Our job is to be incognito.
Mhm.
We're not supposed to be in front of a camera. We're not supposed
really?
No. You're not supposed to give interviews. You're not supposed to be speaking to the press. You can get fired for that.
Oh, wow.
You're not supposed to be in a newspaper.
Oh, wow.
You're just there to fill out reports in case you get called for the mayor to go to your event, and then you brief the mayor. and that was your job. And if you cannot go to your event, then you would contact correspondence
Mhm.
to get a citation or a proclamation. So then you go as the mayor's representative
Mhm.
or as the mayor's liaison,
Oh wow.
and you would present as if you were the mayor. So, and that was the job.
Oh,
That was the job.
beautiful. Oh, well, that's a good thing you did, though, little guy. I know.
I'm telling you,
You that feel good.
it
So
felt great.
that leads me to ask you this question now.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this. I don't have to follow any.
No, go for it. Yeah.
What was your proudest moment
Mm.
as
hmm
South Asian
Liaison. Yeah.
liaison?
Yeah. My proudest
Did you
moment.
stand there and say, wow, it's me. Rohan did this.
I did that. Was that me? Was that Rowan that did that? Oh, it was
Yes.
it. It was him.
Your proudest moment.
My proudest moment was, I remember it very clearly. I'll never forget. It was the pandemic, and it was April of 2020, and this was the first PPE distribution where over 100 nonprofits came to Queensborough Hall to receive masks. And this was peak pandemic. There was no vaccine.
Right.
So you couldn't open your car window.
Oh, wow.
You had to pop your trunk.
Oh, wow.
And then we put
What?
3 boxes of masks
Mhm.
for everyone who came by in their car, in their trunk.
Mm.
And they all formed like a bottleneck. They all came down and came back up.
Oh, wow.
So they went into the parking lot of Queensborough Hall. It was a huge line of cars on Queens Boulevard, and they all waited their turn until Department of Citywide Administrative Services, or DCAS, would allot for them on a list and check off on a list that they were in fact the nonprofit that was scheduled to receive the masks. We put 3 boxes in their car, and then they drove off. So it was kind of like a U shape. They were coming in and coming out.
Wow.
And that first day, we were showing up at 9 o'clock, and the cars were already lined up.
Mm.
And they needed someone from the mayor's office to authorize the release of the PPE
Oh, wow.
from DCAS. And that person was me. They said, "Is anyone here from the mayor's office?" And they read off and said, Who is Rohan? Is there a Rohan here from the mayor's office?" And I said, "Me. It's me. And they said, "Rohan, are you releasing all this PPE, and you authorize this on behalf of the mayor's office to release this PPE to all these nonprofits?" I said, "Yes. We need your signature right here." And I signed my name.
Right.
And they were all delivered from the mayor's office, had my name on it.
Oh, wow.
So every single person, I mean, we're talking about assembly members, city council members.
Oh, wow.
I met Greg Meeks. Greg Meeks came in his Lexus to get PPE. I met Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, yes?
Her
Oh, wow.
office came,
Oh,
right?
wow.
I met all the city council members, all the assembly members in Queens, because it was Queensborough Hall. So it was
Right.
like every politician from Queens
Wow.
came to Queensborough Hall to receive 3 boxes of masks from the mayor's office, because we had access to the federal stockpile
Oh, wow.
in Manhattan. So all the masks from Manhattan got shipped to the Bronx, to Brooklyn, to Staten Island, and to Queens. And after that day, I worked the whole day from like 9 to 4, and I put everything into the Google Doc because everything had to be transmitted live to the mayor's office of operations.
wow.
So when you're putting in the Google Doc, they're checking in the office at City Hall to make sure that every nonprofit showed up. You gave them 3 boxes,
Oh, wow.
and you signed off on it. And at the end of that day, that's when I went home and I said, "Wow, that was insane.
Yes.
That was a crazy day." We gave 100 organizations, electeds, nonprofits, municipal organizations, community boards, the masks they needed, saving lives. People needed masks, and people
Right.
had no way they weren't available in stores. You couldn't buy them in stores. And if you bought them in stores, one mask was $5.
Oh, wow.
And we were giving you 12,000 masks, for free. So it was a very, very large operation. And we did that every month until the end of the year. So we had
Oh.
nine
Wow.
of those distributions at Queensborough Hall. So it was
Wow.
it was quite an operation.
My final question to you is, could you believe time now is now 10 to 7?
Imagine, yeah,
Can
yeah,
you
yeah,
believe?
yeah.
So, Rohan, you're not at the mayor's office at this time, but
Mhm.
do you see yourself going back to the mayor's office to work in the future?
I think it would be contingent on a few things. So, me being a chess player and a chess strategist, I think the chess pieces would have to move a certain way.
Right.
I think right now the king is Eric Adams. If we were to look at this in
Right.
terms of chess, right?
Yes.
the pawns are kind of like the city council members, and you have like the rooks and the bishops. Those would be like the comptroller, the public advocate, and maybe the attorney general. Those are like almost as powerful as the mayor. I would like maybe the rook or the bishop, maybe Jamani Williams or Brad Lander, to run
Mm-hmm.
and defeat the king
Mm-hmm.
and beat Eric Adams in an election. Because I don't think the new administration wanted me to be the South Asian liaison, right?
Mhm,
I worked for de Blasio. I'm a de Blasio surrogate. I came from the de Blasio administration. When the new administration comes in, you bring in your new people, right?
Right, right, right.
There's no thank you for your service. We're going to keep you, right? It was
Right.
never that situation. It's like, thank you very
Done.
much.
You gotta go.
But just so you know, you can stay here, but we have a job posting out there for South Asian liaison,
Oh wow.
and we're getting interviewees for your job,
Oh wow.
just so you know. So keep on working there, but we strongly encourage you
To look.
to look
Wow.
elsewhere. That's what they told me, right? I think anyone, maybe Brad Lander or Jumani Williams, if the chess pieces move that way, and there's a checkmate on the current mayor by the comptroller or the public advocate, then I'd like to reapply and see if I could go back into the mayor's office. Yes.
I thought that was my last question, but I got one more question
Yeah.
for you. Do you see yourself running for politics since you are knowledgeable in how these things run?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself running like for let me see, assemblyman or
Mhm.
anything?
I'll give you the one-word answer.
What?
Yes.
All right, I like that.
Yeah.
So, are you would actively pursue that?
So I currently sit on Community Board 10.
Oh, you
That's
do.
chaired by Betty Bratton, Chair Bratton. And
Mhm.
so you may know someone from that community board who's actually running for city council, Romeo Hitlal.
Mhm.
He's running to be council member in District 28. I would put it to you this way. I am the type of candidate who would like to run if a misfortune happens to an elected official.
Oh, okay.
If there's an indictment, if someone has to resign, if someone passes away, unfortunately, for any reason,
Mhm.
I'd like to be that person that kind of steps in, runs a quick campaign.
Right.
You can read all about me in my book. I'd be a person going like door to door and saying, hey, you may not know me, but you can read all about me.
All right. I
Here's
like
my
that.
book, and maybe people will vote for me. So we'll see. My wife is also a formidable candidate too.
She is.
I shouldn't be saying that, but
No, you can.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think if there's anyone better than me, it's right in my own home. Like my spouse, my partner is
That's good.
actually as an
Yes.
attorney. She works for the city council. She writes laws. She knows
Yes.
the laws. Being a politician is about creating laws, right? So if there's anyone better suited, more qualified for public office than me, it would be her.
That's nice. That brings it to the end of our show. Let's say Sherry, thanks for watching.
Sherry, thank you. I appreciate
Um,
for you tuning in, Sherry. Sherry is Community Board 9
I know
chair.
her. We talk all the time.
First Indo-Caribbean woman
Yes.
elected to
She-
to be a chair of a community board.
Yes. Proud of her too.
Yes.
We have your dad is here. He said the mass distribution was amazing. He really saved a lot of lives. That's like it's good to see your father write that too.
Yeah.
Because he's proud of his son.
That's for the next book.
His son, me papa's proud of his son. He saved so much life. But like I said, and I'll repeat myself again that I'm so proud of your dad. He have done so much for our
Mm.
community. He is one of the cornerstone of our little Guyana, and I always say that he always loves me and always keep an eye out for me. So, Dr. Dan Paul, thank you so much, and you got to listen to the beginning when I talk about you.
Mm.
Continue doing your great work, and I'm so glad that I'm interviewing your son, and I hope that he go on to do bigger and better things. So you guys have really etched your name in this community.
And
You,
I'm
your
only
dad-
doing. I mean, think about it. I'm only doing 20% of what my dad did.
Oh,
My
really?
dad had the radio show, TV show, Mundir, parades. So my dad has got a lot of more credit in the community than me. I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
I got a
you
lot of
do,
work
you
to
do. You got a lot of work to
do.
do. So, your closing remarks.
I think first I want to say thank you to all the viewers who have tuned in. This has been a very revealing 2-hour expose on my life from I'd say from birth in London all the way to my current position as my best profession yet, a father, my most favorite profession. And I want to thank our radio guru, our maestro, someone who is actually a thread amongst all the pearls. You know, when you wear a pearl necklace, it has to be threaded together. And I find Ken is that thread. So you are finding all these pearls in the community and you bring them together with your show. And you are the string that's really keeping all of them together. So you've done amazing work. Your research in finding questions has been stellar. And I think that you yourself, if you were asking me about getting a more advanced degree, a PhD or something like that, you know, you should really look in the mirror. There's a doctorate there, and a future author, right? In you, Ken. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to my wife. I know my wife is, and her and my in-laws and my sister-in-law Hema. They're just looking after our two kids, Nanda and Tushan, our baby girl and our baby boy. So thank you to my in-laws for looking after them. And if anyone's curious, again, you could find my book, Decade of Discovery. It's on Amazon.com for $19.95. Makes a great Christmas gift. And I'm hoping, as Ken said, to when the weather gets warmer, when I have some more free time, we'd like to reach out to many young men in the community through either the masjids, the gurdwaras, the mandirs, the churches, and to have some type of a safe space through like an AA meeting or a substance abuse network where we can, with counselors, project the right solutions to young men in our community who need help in that direction. So, Ken, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. And I'm looking forward to working with you for young men in our community in 2025.
Yes. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on the radio. And you see how easy it is to talk?
Very
It's
easy. Yeah,
very
very
easy,
easy. Very easy.
and so thank you. And I wish you and Aminta all the very best, especially with the two lovely blessings, the two babies, the twin. And like I said, God bless your parents, your in laws, and everyone. And I wish you all the very best in your future endeavors and in your book too. I hope you get a lot of books out after tonight. And God bless you and your family. Thank
Yeah,
you very
thank you.
much. All
Thank you,
right.
Ken.
Yes.
Thanks.
And to our viewers, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in. And you can share it and you could watch tomorrow too. All right. Goodbye.